Welcome back. You're watching The Daily Report with me, George Maringa, as we have a conversation on youth and participation in democracy. Tonight, we host Shikoh Kihika, the Executive Director of Tribless Youth. And this is a conversation, of course, that we've been having. And earlier on, she did debunk the issues that the youth want, even as we look at the aftermath or after the events that happened, especially after that roundtable with President William Ruto. Shikoh, thank you so much for staying with us. You speak to us virtually, or rather you're joining this conversation virtually. Earlier on, it was quite difficult getting, the young people, as I told you, to whomsoever we reached out to, they were all saying, let the young people speak. And when the young people, we reached out to them, they expressed some sort of fear. You, on the other hand, have been brave enough to join the conversation online. However, what are some of the fears or threats that perhaps you guys are going through?
So I think I've seen, and I'll say in the past few weeks, we've seen so many people being abducted.
Yes.
The president called it an arrest, but that's not how an arrest is done. An arrest is not done by people breaking into your house and carrying you in the middle of the night. An arrest is not done by someone just abducting you from the literally in the middle of the road and taking you to nowhere, And this the most weird thing is that most of these abductions, or rather the arrests as the president called them, is that they are not being booked in the police stations. So it really becomes hard to understand why are they doing this to us, but also undermining the freedoms and the rights we have and the power of our constitution. So I think I would understand why young people are doing this, because we have seen people closest to us. We've seen people who you're talking to someone online, the next minute they're gone. We've seen comrades you were with like a few minutes ago, and then within a short time you're being told they're being reported missing. So, but at the same time, we also saw one of their fellows, a politician. We saw them literally just coming out and literally being abducted in the streets. But still, the president justified that as an arrest. So I would understand why young people are scared to be in the front line. I would understand why young people are scared to even come out and say this is the situation. But unfortunately, it is the situation. Why I'm here is because I am not doing anything wrong by addressing this. I'm just exercising my freedom of speech. And at the same time, they say sovereign power belongs to the people. So the people have decided they need to have a conversation, and we cannot take back all our freedoms or our rights back to where our parents keep saying they came from. And that was the Moi era. We're in an era where we are being shielded by our constitution, and that is the Constitution 2010. We're in an era where we understand how to exercise our freedoms and our rights. And again, I would say, if I was doing something bad, then trust you me, George, I wouldn't have come here. If I was doing something illegal, then trust you me, I wouldn't have come here. But by sitting here and having a conversation about the state of our nation, having a conversation about what is happening to our fellow young people, the extrajudicial killings that we've seen, we've lost so many people within a very short span of time. And the question is, what did they do? It's just going to the streets to defend their rights, to speak about their rights. I honestly feel like it's unfair, and someone needs to say it. Someone needed to come out and say, you know what, you've killed enough of us. Then now fulfill, because we cannot forget that the president campaigned on a platform that he promised Kenyans that in his government we will never see abductions. In his government we will never see extrajudicial killings. In his government we will not see people being silenced from exercising the freedoms of expression. Unfortunately, 2 years down, we are here, and the young people of this nation are now telling the story of oppression. They're telling the story of extrajudicial killings. They're telling the story of being silenced. They're telling a story of being threatened, and they say they're selling fear to us, or rather they keep intimidating you so that you do not exercise your freedoms. It's uncalled for. And I do not think that is the right direction to go as of now as a country, because we say we are a democratic republic, and so we must see to it and honor that in all shapes and forms.
Whereas
Yeah.
this has been a movement or a cause that has been advocated for or channeled, especially by the young people. Others have argued that it is also an intergenerational struggle, where you will hear the adults, especially the older siblings, the older generations, congratulating and saying, go youth, and saying this is something that you all just need to do. But do you think that perhaps in your lifetime, within this time frame of this, especially this government, how optimistic, talk to us about your optimism levels in terms of ensuring that whatever you've seen, or rather whatever you've advocated for, will be heard and implemented? We've seen what has happened to the Finance Bill 2024, but will the other demands be heard and acted upon?
So I'll say something that Lema Bowie once said is that I live in a country where there's too little to be optimistic about, that I choose to find one reason to be very optimistic. And my one reason is the young people.
Yes.
The young people are giving me hope that for sure, something is going to come out. And you have seen the resilience. They're not relenting. They're not willing to stop until what they are seeking is answered. And I really hope for sure, because it's 2 years into it. And I remember again holding the president to his word. There's a time he filled, was it Kasarani, in the signing the Charter for Youth, and promising that his government will put the youth at the center of it. Putting us at the center of it is not taking us to Arab countries or wherever you're taking us for odd jobs. Kenya is one of the most beautiful places, and I say that including Africa at large, but Kenya is the most beautiful places because 70% of us are labor force. You cannot keep exporting labor. This means it's modern day slavery. This is not why we went to school. We would want to serve our country, and we would wish you would hear us. So my hope at the moment, which I always say hope is not a strategy, but my only reason to be optimistic right now is the generation of young people we are seeing and the resilience in them and the fight they are putting on. George, for the first time, I saw someone being killed and people covering him in a flag, and they started singing the national anthem. That is symbolic. And we must not forget how far we've come for these young people to get here. We must not forget how far and how much we failed these young people for them to get to a point where they are this angered, they are this pained to be able to put their lives at risk that much.
The forum for participating in the establishment of bills in the country as enshrined in the Constitution is through public participation. And many have wondered, Shikoh, have the young people been able to submit? Have they been able to go and attend this public participation? Because as it stands, that is the forum, that's the avenue that the Constitution recognizes. And being a country governed by the law, that is the avenue. I mean, as a person, did you attend these participation exercises? Would you want them fashioned in a manner that the young people will be able to participate more?
I think we forget one thing, that Article 1 of the Constitution says the sovereign power belongs to the people, and the people can choose to exercise it directly or indirectly. So indirectly is where we have our representatives come, take your views, and then go represent you in Parliament. Directly is what we are seeing young people do right now. Have young people been participating? I'll take you back to last year.
Yes.
During the Finance Bill, you remember there was also an uproar around that time. Young people submitted thousands and thousands of petitions that were not read and were not considered in the Finance Bill 2023-2024. Remember when there was the housing levy case that was ongoing in court? Young people flooded the courtroom until the judge had to block people from coming in. These people are participating, right? But the government has chosen the old way of participating, where I'm going to choose a Wednesday morning for people to come participate. And I will announce it on Tuesday night or on Monday night. So these young people don't have enough room to go through the documents, because if you look at even the Finance Bill, it's a huge document. So you give me one day to go through it, and you want me to make my submissions the next day, might not necessarily work. So I think it's high time we start considering effective way, meaningful way ways and inclusive ways of participation. And what does this mean? It means if young people are engaging more on online spaces, how do we make public participation accessible to even people who are not able to come there physically? But also, how do we build trust in the systems to make sure that if I make my submissions today, I'm not feeling like they will not be considered. I'm not feeling like they will be considered less because I might not have the financial influence. So I think it's high time that people, and I'll give you an example. From the county I come from, there's a public participation that happened. And people went, and it was a public participation that was focusing more on persons with disability. And people went and said, this is what we want. The MCA went and sat down and said, no, these people need chicken, and decided he'll buy them chicken to rear. So he's disregarded what these people feel, their positions as persons with disability, and them understanding their positions better and understanding what will benefit them. So for us is, we do not want to participate to tick a box. We want to participate to be heard, to be seen, but at the same time, to make our country better. So it's high time we make participation more inclusive. It's high time we make participation more meaningful. It's high time we make participation about the people and not the leaders.
Indeed. Let's take another short commercial break as we prepare to enter the home stretch of this conversation. You're watching The Daily Report with Shikoh Kihika, the Executive Director, Tribless Youth. My guests tonight. We have much more to converse after this short commercial break. Do stay with us.